I have to stop feeling so self-conscious. I think a big part of like being self-conscious is like I feel like I don't really have anything to show you guys other than stuff I've already did. But like right now I'm just feeling so like not confident. You know, I own 2 properties, great, but like I feel locked down by them. I feel chained to them instead of feeling like they're working for me. And the main reason for that is because it's still like I still haven't finished the process. And so, you know, I got a restaurant job in order to pay off debt because I wasn't ready to rent out the condo yet. But now I have the opportunity to go and live somewhere else other than the condo. I don't have to live anywhere specific. I could come and live in St. Paul. I could go and live in Mexico for $423 a month in a hostel. You know, I could live anywhere that won't require like the amount of costs and expenses that my life in Texas would, you know, because Texas is actually a lot cheaper than any of the other places that I lived in. But at the same time, what I'm realizing, and this is something that like, this is part of, you know, this is part of why I haven't been able to like write out a full course for you guys telling you exactly how to be a house hacker, because I'm still learning so much myself. And what I'm learning is you don't want to be living and paying expenses in the same city as your rental properties. Like as a house hacker, you want to be living in the same place that you're going to also be renting out and using as a rental property, but you don't want to be working with the same price point. Like, so I'm just going to try to simplify the idea that I'm trying to get across, which is if you're living in Kalamazoo, you bought a house for the purpose of turning it into a rental. And then you live in one bedroom, you rent out the other bedrooms. That's paying for your cost of living. And somehow at some point you were able to save up enough money to buy a second rental, save up enough money and secure a loan, which you're not going to save up enough money, but through the house hacking methods that I'm going to tell you in the course, you're able to secure a loan. And so somehow you get a loan and you're able to get a second property. And your second property is going to give you a place to live while you rent out the first property. So the first property is bringing in income, but if you're going to spend time living in that second property, then the amount of income that's coming in from your first property has to be enough to subsidize the amount that you're making from the second property. Otherwise, the only way to justify living in the second property is if you can rent out one of the rooms in the second property. So if the second property is like my place, which only has one room, the only way to rent out any part of the second property is to rent out the whole thing, then you can't really spend time in that second property. So that's, I don't know if that makes sense, because you're working with the same price point as the first place. So whatever you're making from the first property, you know, if it's in a different city, like if your first property was in LA and then your second property was in Texas, then you can live in the second property fully and not use it as a rental, you know, for a while your first property is going to bring in enough income to subsidize your second property, because you're living in a city where it's like at a lower price point. But for me, because I'm doing this all in the same city, in Dallas, Fort Worth, same metroplex, so my first property, the income that's coming in is not gonna be so much that it also covers my second property. It like barely covers some of my second property. So like it's good enough, it's enough income that it makes it like a good business model, so that I can rinse and repeat, but it's not big enough that I could live in Dallas and still play that game. That I can live in Dallas in my own property and still play that game. I have to live even cheaper to make that business model work. Otherwise, I'm gonna be stuck in Dallas working at a restaurant, which, like, you know, it was good to pay off my debt, but it's just not gonna work anymore. So that's basically the realization that I'm coming to, and it was kind of hard for me because I was like, well, now I feel like, you know, I'm starting back at square one where I'm a nomad and I don't have a place to live, and I hate being a nomad and I hate not having my own space and my own place to live. But like, what I'm realizing being here, living in someone else's space while that is going on in Texas, is I realize that I actually don't feel like that anymore, because I do have a place to live. I do have a place to go to. I have 2 homes, and me renting those homes out was a choice. It feels like a choice. Me being here feels like a choice. And I don't really feel like I did a few years ago when I was a nomad and I was just like living on people's couches and I didn't own anything, because now I actually own 2 homes. And I'm here in someone else's space as a choice. And they feel like they can push me out anytime because I'm not a nomad. So there's no feeling of tension like I need this, I need to be here. It's more choice. It's like, I want to be here. That person wants me to be here. That person is not pressured to keep me here. Anywhere that I go and visit, if I go stay with a family member, like, they're not pressured to keep me there because I have places. Like, push comes to shove, I can go back to Dallas and get a job and stop, finish the leases that I have with those places. I can go to Dallas to get a job. But like, this is just such a better setup for me at the moment. And I'm able to focus on like really getting the house hacking down to a science, because so many of my friends, 2 days ago, another one of my friends called me and she was like, yeah, like I'm, basically she called me from rehab, and they had like 1 hour to make a phone call in rehab. And she was calling me for like a few times, it rang, and I got this like random phone call from a random place I didn't recognize. And I realized, oh my God, like she left a voicemail, and I see the voicemail and she's like, hey, I'm calling from rehab. And I'm like, oh my God. So the next time she calls, I pick it up. She only had a few minutes left of her break, and she's like, I need to get out of here. I need a plan. Tell me what to do. And she knew about my house hacking stuff. And like, it was so cool to get that kind of phone call, because I realized like, she is me. Like, she is me a few years ago. She is exactly in the same, and I wasn't in rehab, but like, I was in a situation where I was just like all over the place, didn't have a place to live. My parents thought I was a loser. They didn't say it out loud, but they secretly thought it, I know. And like, I so deeply want to have a very clear-cut plan for someone like her. And she called me and she's like, what do I do? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, I would tell her to do what I did and be a house hacker. Would she be able to do it? I don't know, because I'm barely figuring it out. I'm still just figuring it out. And she could do it. Anyone can do it. But like, then what? And then what? And then what? And so like, I want to have my plan down really simple. Have a really, really easy plan that I could literally just be like, hey friend, whatever her name is, let's say her name is Katie. Hey Katie, like, here's a 5-minute plan that I've made. And you come out of rehab, you have nothing but your clothes, you have no place to live. This is exactly what you do. This is your 5-minute plan to go from being on the streets, financially illiterate, everyone thinks you're a loser, you have no place to live, to gaining some semblance of control of your life. But beyond that, like right now I have control over my life, but I want beyond control. I want the game plan to go from being Katie out on the streets, Pardis out on the streets a few years ago, like, You know, I was on the streets. I was living in people's couches. People don't want to be that. You know, most people want to be more than just somebody's house guest that owns nothing and feels like nothing and feels like shit. You want to be more than that. You want to be able to take care of yourself. So I want a game plan that makes it very clear, because at the end of the day, like, it's not about how smart you are. I promise you, it's not about how smart you are. It's literally just about sorry, this is weird. Like, at the end of the day, it's not about how smart you are. It's not about, you know, like, how much money you have. It really isn't about how much money you have. If you're financially illiterate, you could have $1 million and it goes to shit. Just ask Mr. Beast, you know, these videos where he like literally hands people $1 million and sees what they do with it. It's not about how much you have, how smart you are. It's literally just about, it's just about like wanting it and being willing to move. If you want it, you're willing to move, then my plan, my house hacking plan would work for you. Moving is scary. So that's probably the hardest part, is moving. You don't have to be like skilled at literally anything. You don't have to be skilled at like setting things up. Like, you don't have to be skilled at construction. You could if you want to. You know, that would really help. Setting up furniture, construction, stuff like that. That would help if you knew any of those things. But you don't have to. The only thing you have to do in order for this to work for you is you have to be willing to move to like a new city, a new town, a new home. And that's scary. So if you have a partner that you could do it with, that's like probably the ideal scenario, if you have someone that will do it with you. But in terms of like knowledge, you don't really need to know that much. It's really just like any other money-making plan. It's just a plan, and it works, and you don't really have to be the smartest person on the block for it to work. Like, you literally just have to be a willing party in the money-making machine. And, you know, if you look at all these rich people that you know, just think of all the rich people that you know. Like, how smart are they? You know, a lot of times they're not really smart. They just somehow landed with a plan that worked, and they just kept doing it, and it worked for them, and it worked for their interests or whatever. And so for me, I'm kind of lazy. I don't like to work all the time. I don't like to feel tied down. I hate being tied down, actually. I hate having a boss. I hate feeling committed to anything. And I know people don't like to buy real estate because they feel like it makes them feel committed to that place. You could back out, you know? It's just, this is something that will allow you to build something while you move around. And if you're like me and you like moving around and you get bored of staying in one place, it's like the perfect thing for you. But even if you are like me and you just want a sense of security, this is also the perfect thing for you. It's like, it's perfect for you if you want security, and it's perfect for you if you want to move around. If you want to move around while having security, while having a cash cow, you know, because that's what your rental properties are going to be. They're going to be cash cows. They're going to be people that are working for you, hard at work, and they're going to be stuck in one place while you get to move around. So that's how I think about it. And I promise you, I'm not the smartest person on the block, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do my taxes. Like, I really don't know a lot. I just know that I found something that works. I found something that works. I'm trying to figure out all the other different ways that it could work in all the other different capacities. And I'm trying to figure out how to like package it all into a way that will make it really easy for you guys, for my friend Katie, who is completely financially illiterate, like for her to make it work. And so if she can, if it's good for her, then it can be good for, like, you know, most people. So, alrighty. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like this video, and I always read your comments, and I always really appreciate them a lot. It means a lot to me. And so yeah, see you guys later.